Hello and welcome. In this video, I will show you how to create a widget that displays a list of ratings as checkbox list tiles that can be selected or deselected by the user to filter the data. First, to use GF checkbox list tile in Flutter, we need to add these packages to our pubspec YAML file, like this. Next, we use a sized box widget to create some vertical space. We use a text widget to display the title Rating with a large and bold font style. We use another sized box widget to create some vertical space between the title and the list. We use the spread operator to insert multiple widgets into the column as children. We use the list generate method to create a list of widgets that are generated by iterating over a range of numbers from 0 to 3. For each index in the range, we return a GF's checkbox list tile widget, which is a custom widget from the getWidget package that provides a way to create a checkbox list tile with various features. We set the padding to edge insets, all 0, which means the checkbox list tile will have no padding around it. We set the margin, which means the checkbox list tile will have some vertical space above and below it. We set the title property to a row widget, which will display a row of icons on the left side of the checkbox list tile. We use the list generate method to create a list of widgets that are generated by iterating over a range of numbers from 0 to 4- index. This means the number of icons will decrease by 1 for each checkbox list tile from 5 to 2. We return an icon widget which will display a star icon with an orange accent color. We set the size to 26 pixels, which will be the size of the checkbox. We declare a list of Boolean values called isCheckedList and initialize it with true, false, 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 which means the first rating will be checked by default and the rest will be unchecked. We set the value property to the value at the index position of the isCheckedList list, which will indicate whether the checkbox is checked or not. We set the onChanged property to a function that takes a Boolean value as a parameter and updates the isCheckedList list accordingly. This function will be called whenever the user taps on the checkbox, and it will toggle the check state of the rating. We use the setState function to update the state of the widget and trigger a rebuild. We assign the isCheckedList list to a new list that is generated by iterating over a range of numbers from 0 to 3 and returning false for each index. This means the isCheckedList list will have all false values, which will uncheck all the checkboxes. We assign the value at the index position of the isCheckedList list to true, which will check the checkbox that corresponds to the rating that the user tapped on. We set the type to GFCheckboxType.Circle, which means the checkbox will have a circular shape. We set the active background color to black, which will be the background color of the checkbox when it is checked. We set the active border color to black, which will be the border color of the checkbox when it is checked. We set the inactive background color to gray, shade 300, which will be the background color of the checkbox when it is unchecked. We set the inactive border color to gray, shade 300, which will be the border color of the checkbox when it is unchecked. We set the active icon to an icon widget, which will display a check icon with a white color and a size of 16 pixels when the checkbox is checked. We set the inactive icon to null, which means no icon will be displayed when the checkbox is unchecked. Next, we use a sized box widget to create some vertical space between the list and the button. We use a sized box widget to wrap the button and make sure it takes up the full width of the screen. The child of the sized box widget is an elevated button widget, which will display a button with a black background and a rounded border. We set the style property to elevated button style from, which will allow you to customize the appearance of the button. We set the padding, which will create some vertical space inside the button. We set the elevation to 0, which means the button will have no shadow effect. We set the primary color to black, which will be the background color of the button. We set the shape to rounded rectangle border, which will define the shape of the button as a rectangle with rounded corners. We set the border radius to 40 pixels, which will create a circular shape for the button. We set the onPressed property to an empty function, which means nothing will happen when the button is pressed. You can add some logic later if you want to implement a filter functionality. We set the child property to a text widget, which will display the text "Apply Now" with a white color, a large font size, and a semi-bold font weight. We use another size box widget to create some vertical space below the button. Finally, we add the single child scroll view widget is used to create a box that can be scrolled for a single widget. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.